When it comes to leaving your job to start a business, there are three main mistakes that professionals make that can cost time and money and have them running back to their old job or just any other job before they've even given the fact that they've left time to sink in. In this video, I'm going to look at those three mistakes, and I'm also going to look at the ways that you can avoid them so that your leaving can be strategic and planned rather than rushed and frantic. So mistake number one is leaving before you have proof. You may have a really good idea, but you don't know whether or not it's actually going to make you money consistently. And when you leave before you've proven that you can actually make money outside of your job, then everything becomes urgent. And that urgency leads to making poor decisions because you're on hustle mode and you're desperate because you desperately need that money to come in. And this is why I talk about making your first 1,000 before you go. And that's just the initial testing. You cannot leave until you're sure that your idea, no matter how great it is going to bring you in money. There are 3 steps to this. Number one, have a clear offer. What problem can you solve based on your experience? And then number 2, you need to start testing this. Start with 5 to 10 people. This isn't about churning out content on your social media platforms. This is about having real conversations. And that's where a lot of people get stuck because they expect to post every single day on their social media platforms and then wonder, why aren't people buying? People don't buy in the feed. People buy in the DMs. People buy from conversations. So test this. Speak to 5 to 10 people who would be interested in the offer. These are the people that you have ascertained would benefit from the solution that you have to their problem. And this is how you test it. You deliver the solution to their problem. You work with them. And number 3 is where the magic happens. You get paid. That's how you test your offer. And then based on what you get in terms of feedback, in terms of your testimonials, you review it, you revise it, and you continue testing your offer until you can start making money in your first 500, your first 1,000, until you're able to start replacing larger and larger chunks of your salary. The minute you get your first payment, that's proof. It tells you you're onto something, and then you need to build on it. You can't just jump as yet. You need to build on that, because that's where a lot of people go wrong. They think that the reason that they're not leaving their job is because they don't have confidence in their idea, and it isn't confidence that's lacking, it's evidence. And testing and validating your idea, your offer, is the evidence that you need, that you have something that can sustain you when you no longer have your salary. The second mistake people make is replacing their job with another job. You want to leave your job because you are stretched to the max, you are under-resourced and overworked, and then you decide, okay, I'm going to start this business, and you go into business and you just replace that one type of burnout for a whole other type of burnout. You think that leaving your job is going to be freedom, but when you leave and go into business, you realize that you're still underpaid, you're still overworked, and it doesn't feel like freedom at all. And sometimes you find yourself, because you're still trying to find your feet, you're literally saying yes to any offer that you get coming your way. You're working with any client, whether they're aligned with you or not. And that is the quickest way to ruin your reputation and to work against your values. And this is why it's so important to build your brand before you quit. You must know who it is you want to work with. You must know what problems it is you solve and how you do that, so that when you are out there and you're talking to your ideal client, your ideal customer, you know exactly who it is that you want to work with. I was in a group the other day where somebody was saying that as a freelance worker, they're being dictated to and given a whole list of things that they have to do, and it doesn't work for them in their business, but they just have to do it. And this is where you have to get very clear on your boundaries as to how you work. And when you get particular offers from certain clients, you have to ask yourself, does this align with the way that I intend to work? And when you're offered that work that doesn't align with what you're doing, ask yourself, can this be repeated? Can this be scaled? Is it worth your while doing it? Is it something that later on you can delegate to others? And most importantly, does this support the life that I am trying to build. Because when you're leaving a space where burnout was approaching, where you weren't happy and you thought, okay, I need to find my freedom and I want to go out there for myself, you have to think about the life that you're trying to design for yourself. And if it doesn't match that life, if it doesn't match with your values, if you cannot stand behind it with intention and purpose, then it's not for you. When you think about freedom, you think about leaving your job and you're thinking about leaving all the drama that's in that corporate space. Freedom isn't just about leaving. It isn't just saying, okay, I no longer have a boss. Freedom is about designing the next stage that you're walking into. The third mistake that people make is not managing their risk properly. They either jump too soon or they stay in those positions too long before leaving. And usually what sits behind that is fear that, financially they aren't going to be able to sustain themselves when they leave their jobs. And rightfully so. That's a really important issue. But your financial readiness is not the only thing that you have to take into consideration. And if you take nothing else from this video, take this. When it comes to risk, you need to be very clear about not only your financial readiness, what's on the spreadsheet, how long can you sustain yourself for, what do you have coming in, but also your psychological readiness. You have to ask yourself financially, what type of savings do I have that I can fall back on if needed, but also, am I able to generate income outside of my job? But also emotionally, am I leaving because of a reaction to the circumstances that I'm having to work with, or is this an informed decision? Am I jumping or am I being pushed? Am I ready for the next stage of my journey? What am I going to do when that job title isn't there? How am I going to feel about myself? How do I identify when I can no longer fall back on my corporate role? And practically, what is my plan? What do I do for the next 90 days? Or what am I going to do over the next 6 months? Those are the questions that you have to ask yourself to know whether or not you're ready to leave your job. And when we don't ask ourselves these questions, this is where we either, as I said, make a rash decision and jump out of our jobs ill prepared, or we stay because we feel that we're not ready yet and we don't even understand what ready looks like. And we make those decisions either to stay too long or to jump too quickly because we can see that there's risk in both. We see that there's risk in leaving, or we see that there's risk in staying, so we make that decision. But what you have to understand is that we can never ever avoid risk totally. The trick is how to reduce the uncertainty that we're going to face. And there will be things that pop up, but if we are prepared financially, emotionally, and practically, we'll be better equipped to deal with the hurdles that are going to come later on down the line when we eventually leave. So if you're thinking about leaving your job, there are two types of exits. There's the I'm handing in my resignation and I'm gone. That's the emotional exit. It's filled with stress and it can give you that sense of initial relief, but that relief is not going to be long standing. Or there is the controlled and strategic exit, when you've looked at all of the areas where you need to be ready and looked at what does it mean when I actually leave? What does it mean when I no longer have the stability and security of my organization behind me and that steady paycheck? And the thing is, you're never going to have every single thing sorted out, but you do need a plan. And that plan is going to give you the evidence that you need because you've tested and validated your offer. It's going to give you structure and it's going to give you clarity. And if you want to do this properly, that's exactly what I'm doing in my 6-week exit income blueprint. Here, I'm going to be showing you how to turn your experience into a validated offer so you can start generating income alongside your 9 to 5 so that you're no longer guessing as to whether or not your idea is going to work, but you start building evidence that it does. So if you want in or want more information, type exit below or follow the link in the description. Leaving a job that no longer serves you, where you no longer feel valued, and going into your own heartfelt, passion-led business can be one of the most fulfilling things that you could do. But it can be one of the most stressful things you can do if you don't have a plan. And that's why I'm here, because I've done it. And I've seen the pitfalls. I know where they are. And this is my way of helping you avoid those pitfalls so that you can have a transition that isn't filled with stress and leading you into burnout. So if that's you and you're thinking about leaving your job and going into your own business, have a look at my other videos as to what it takes to make that smooth transition. Or until the next video, bye.